Check.
Yeah.
Check. Hey. Good evening, everybody. At this time, may we move to our seats so we can begin tonight's presentation. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, can we make it to our seats to begin tonight's presentation? Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. If we could get folks to take their seat. We have a few stragglers. If everybody could please find your seat, we'd like to get the program started so we can stay on time. Thank you very much. Welcome, everyone, to the Attorneys of the Year for 2021 Awards. I'm Bill Geyer. I'm the publisher of Minnesota Lawyer. And on behalf of our staff and our sponsors, thank you for joining us this evening. I am so happy that we are able to be here in person. Right? For 21 years, we've celebrated individuals, groups, and teams of attorneys for their outstanding achievements in the previous year. I tell you, if you give me 10 minutes, you'll be able to continue your conversations. I'm serious. I'm going to be fast. All right, thanks. Each of tonight's honorees were nominated by their peers and selected by an outside panel of legal experts and executives at Minnesota Lawyer. We also recognize those who have sustained a higher level of service with the Outstanding Service to the Profession Award. Among tonight's honorees are 8 Outstanding Service to the Profession Award winners. Included in this category are the prosecution team and defense for the Chauvin trial. The selection committee intentionally placed these honorees in the category of Outstanding Service to the Profession because of this trial's importance as an example of the rule of law. 25 of tonight's honorees are being welcomed into the Circle of Excellence for having been recognized previously as Attorneys of the Year. Events like this, of course, aren't possible without the support of our sponsors. We begin with the event sponsor, Bridgewater Bank. Their professional services division offers sophisticated solutions for business professionals. Their team's tenure means they know what it takes to propel your business to the next level of success. We appreciate their partnership and look forward to many years working with them. We'd also like to thank, please, applause for Bridgewater Bank, please. Thank you for helping us put this on. We'd also like to thank all the VIP table sponsors and their guests who join us tonight. Blackwell Burke, Cerisi Conlin, Fagery Drinker, Biddle and Reed, Forsgren, Fisher, McCalmont, Demaria, Teisberg, Hallberg Criminal Defense, Hall Law, Harper Peterson, Henson and Efren, Jones Day, Knutson Casey, who, by the way, are throwing an after party tonight. You'll hear a little bit more about that later. Maslin, Meschbecher and Spence, Mitchell Hamlin School of Law, Coleman and Hughes, Robbins Kaplan, Saul, Young, Arnstein and Laird, Spencer Fain, Stinson, Taft, and Winthrop and Weinstein. Thank you all for your support of tonight's honorees. Please join me. You've kind of already done this, but please join me in thanking all of our sponsors for their support. Before we break for dinner, I'd like to acknowledge two of tonight's outstanding service to the profession honorees that are not here with us tonight. Both Mark Myra and David Herr have recently passed. Their friends have created tributes for us to share with you.
As you know, you've been nominated for Attorney of the Year for lifetime contributions to the bar.
Don't get me started on this. You know, the idea of being nominated for anything of the year feels preposterous to me, quite frankly. I am grateful for the comments that suggest that over the years I've cared about people, because I have cared about people. Whether that means Lawyer of the Year for, you know, contributions to the profession remains to be seen. If I were on the selection committee, it wouldn't take me long to look at this application, I must say. But it is very kind of people that I've worked with over the years to say such a thing. And I guess, you know, the most important lesson for me through this sort of humbling acknowledgement is that people do remember kindness. In this situation I find myself in, this, you know, I'm on short time now, I think. I don't find myself happy about that new truck I bought or these sweet cheesy boots, or, you know, or even work successes are not sort of prevalent as I ponder what brings me the most gratitude right now and the most joy. It's the friendships, and friendships with my wife, and friendships with my kids, and friendships with my extended family are at the heart of that. There's also friendships that expand beyond that, and I got a lot of friends. I've often thought to myself, you know, I'm going to get up to the pearly gates, and St. Peter is, you know, we Catholics like to say there's this moment when St. Peter decides and who enters the pearly gates and who doesn't, and St. Peter's going to say, Mark Myra, I think I've heard of that name before. Oh. You know, oh. And then he gets to the end and he's going to say, you're a damn good husband. Welcome aboard, my good and faithful servant.
Hi, everyone. My name is Erica Holzer, and I'm a partner at the Maslin Law Firm, and I am honored to be able to say a few words on behalf of my friend and mentor, David Herr, who passed away on December 22nd at the age of 71 from ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease. David was one of the greats, like Lou Gehrig, and I can think of no one more deserving to be recognized for outstanding service to the profession. David loved being a lawyer. He loved everything about it. In his 43 years of practice, David authored more than 15 of the most important treatises on Minnesota and federal law. He mentored hundreds of lawyers, many of whom are probably in the room here tonight, and helped draft the rules that guide and govern Minnesota lawyers and judges in every facet of civil practice through his decades of work as reporter for the Minnesota Rules of Civil Procedure, the Uniform Local Rules, the General Rules of Practice, and the Rules of Civil Appellate Procedure. David also had an enduring commitment to justice and community service through pro bono and volunteer work. He co-founded and served on the board of the Minnesota Supreme Court Historical Society, chaired the United Hospital Foundation Board, served on the board of directors of the Innocence Project in Minnesota, and was an adjunct professor at his alma mater, William Mitchell College of Law, for more than 30 years. When I spoke to David before he died, he told me that he shared the sentiments of Lou Gehrig, who famously said after being diagnosed with ALS, that he considered himself the luckiest man on the face of this earth. David said that he had lived a good life, that he had accomplished everything he wanted, that he had traveled the world, raised 2 incredible sons, was a devoted and gentle husband in a marriage that was filled with love, and lived life to the fullest. May we all be so lucky in the final chapter of our lives to be able to say that. On behalf of David, his wife Mary Kay, his 2 sons, his entire family, and all of us at the Maslin Law Firm, thank you for recognizing David for his outstanding service to the profession. May we all endeavor to carry on David's legacy, not only by being excellent lawyers, but by committing ourselves to bettering the profession in the ways that David so selflessly did for his entire career. Thank you.
Enjoy your dinner and the company at your table, and we'll be back shortly for the awards presentation. Hello. Please continue to enjoy your dinner and dessert as we resume the program. We'll begin with the outstanding service to the profession, followed by individuals, teams, and then the group honorees. It helps us sort of get organized because the groups get a little chaotic, so please be patient when you come up for your award. You'll be called in alphabetical order by last name, so as the person ahead of you is called, you can begin to make your way to the stage. Now, please help in welcoming our presenters to the stage. David Bolander, editor of Minnesota Lawyer, and John Yaramovich, Senior Vice President, Private Banking and Professional Services from Bridgewater Bank.
On behalf of everyone at Bridgewater Bank, it's my pleasure to welcome you to this year's Attorney of the Year Awards. Thank you to Minnesota Lawyer for shining the light on these inspiring attorneys. We're proud to help recognize their incredible achievements and professional dedication. We see this as a natural fit for us and a reflection of our mission to challenge the status quo. We started with the vision in 2005 to create an entrepreneurial bank where answers came quickly, opportunities were plentiful, and the culture was optimistic. An unconventional attitude sets us apart from traditional banks, and our clients, many of which work in real estate, but are also here as well, notice the difference. Like many of you, we work with local entrepreneurs and have enjoyed the opportunity to partake in their growth journeys. David, let's get this program started.
Thanks, John. Tonight's honorees took a variety of paths to make it to the top of their fields. What traits do they all share? They are smart, determined, and persistent. They care about their clients, constituents, and their communities. And they model success for the attorneys following in their footsteps. At this time, we present this year's honorees for outstanding service to the profession. This award signifies enduring commitment to the legal community and unwavering dedication to excellence. Minnesota Lawyer is proud to recognize the following attorneys for their impressive work in the legal field. We begin with Beth Bertelson. Representing the rights of employees is more than a career for Beth Bertelson. It means a chance to fight for the underdog, including several victims of age discrimination. In her practice area, Beth sees a trend toward employees having more say in what they need from a workplace in terms of culture, diversity, flexibility, and benefits. For her work as an arbitrator and mediator, Beth also predicts more attempts at proactive resolution. Minnesota Lawyer is pleased to recognize Beth Bertelson for her outstanding service to the profession.
The Derek Chauvin prosecution team. Rule of law is a principle under which all persons, institutions, and entities are accountable to laws that are publicly promulgated, equally enforced, independently adjudicated, and consistent with international human rights principles. The video, which you've all seen, was the state's best evidence against the former officer, but video alone doesn't secure guilty verdicts. Attorney General Keith Ellison took the rare step of prosecuting a would-be Minnesota's first televised criminal trial. His prosecution team was packed. His office, the Hennepin County Attorney's Office, and many pro bono attorneys in private practice. The primary theme of what they presented to a jury was, what you're seeing is what happened. We all know the result. The trial was a very public representation of the rule of law. Minnesota Lawyer is proud to honor the Chauvin prosecution team for its outstanding service to the profession.
Abigail Sarah. Abigail Sarah was happy as senior counsel for Wells Fargo, but when she was asked to join the Office of Police Conduct Review, she couldn't say no. Her office studies police conduct cases and the environment in which they happened. Abigail is working to make policing more transparent while fighting for better practices and more public understanding. One recent victory was the Minneapolis Police's new Medical Support Division, which trains officers more about the risks of restraint. Also, Hennepin County Medical Center is reworking their law enforcement training. Minnesota Lawyer is happy to recognize Abigail Sarah for her outstanding service to the profession. Unfortunately, Abigail was unable to join us this evening.
Rita Coyle Demulse. After a decade as Minnesota Supreme Court Commissioner, Rita Coyle Demulse is embracing retirement. Over the years, Rita played a key role in managing and innovating the work of the court. Those efforts including using technology to ensure the effective administrative of justice and support openness and accessibility of its public proceedings. In her role, Rita has provided legal research, advice, and memoranda recommending dispositions in a wide variety of civil and criminal legal cases that come before the court. She has also supervised the staff of senior attorneys. Minnesota Lawyer is pleased to recognize Rita Coyle Demulse for outstanding service to the profession. Unfortunately, Rita isn't able to join us this evening.
Diane Ebert. Diane Ebert was named president of the Minnesota State Bar Association during a uniquely challenging time. Thanks to COVID, many in-person events were out of the question. But with her leadership, the MSBA shifted many of its functions to virtual formats. Diane also helped move the association's continuing legal education programs into virtual formats, as well as a mock trial program for Minnesota high school students. Also, the association's lawyer well-being programs were expedited to help members ward off professional isolation.
Thank you for all you've done for Quinlivan and Hughes, the MSBA, and the legal profession as a whole. Way to go.
Hi, Mom. Congratulations, and thank you for being such a good role model for me. Somehow you've been able to balance having a successful career and being a great mom at the same time. I don't know how you do it, but I do know that I'll still win every argument.
Congratulations, Diane. What a way to make your family proud. It is very rewarding to see your resolve, your determination, and your work ethic get recognized in such a public way.
Again, congratulations. We're very proud of you and we love you, Diane. We have been domestic associates for almost 32 years and social distancing partners for the last 2 years. Those last 2 years have shown me how hard you work and how much you care about your profession. I could not be more proud of all that you have accomplished. And I will have dinner ready for you when you leave your office and come downstairs.
Congratulations, Diane.
Minnesota Lawyer is happy to recognize Diane Ebert for her outstanding service to the profession.
David Herr. The status of David Herr as a Minnesota legal icon could be illustrated by the fact that he was nominated as an Attorney of the Year by 7 Minnesota Supreme Court justices. David was one of the most highly regarded appellate lawyers and complex case litigators in Minnesota. He was also dedicated to advancing the profession and improving the judicial system. David served for decades to help draft and amend the rules that govern Minnesota lawyers and judges in every facet of civil practice. His mark has been made and it will exist for years. Minnesota Lawyer is pleased to honor David Herr for his outstanding service to the profession. Accepting for David is his friend and colleague, Erica Holzer.
Mark Myra. Longtime Boston Scientific in-house counsel Mark Myra passed away in December, but the imprint he left on his practice will live on. Mark almost didn't become a lawyer. He said last fall that he took the LSAT almost as a lark. After a time in private practice, He saw a better fit as an in-house attorney. He stayed with Boston Scientific for a decade and a half, where his specialty was risk mitigation. Mark always enjoyed the gratitude of his internal clients, and they will certainly miss him. Minnesota Lawyer is proud to recognize Mark Myra for his outstanding service to the profession. Accepting for Mark this evening is his wife, Lynn.
Eric Nilsson. Eric Nilsson consulted with his partners at Halbert Criminal Defense and his family before accepting appointment to defend former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin against charges that he caused the death of George Floyd. We're not in the business of representing popular people, Nilsson says, but the way he saw it, it was part of a legal system that's obligated to provide every person with representation at trial. It's our ethical and constitutional duty, says Nilsson. His defense of Chauvin against damning video evidence has been compared to the John Adams 1770 defense of hated British soldiers at the Boston Massacre trial. While Chauvin was found guilty, Eric has received much positive recognition for his work on the case. Minnesota Lawyer is happy to recognize Eric Nilsson for his outstanding service to the profession.
We will continue now with the individual honorees. Patrick Ahrens. A Twin Cities plastic surgeon had to have an above-the-knee amputation after a ziplining mishap was made worse by poor medical care. With the help of Patrick Ahrens of Robbins Kaplan, the doctor got a $28 million verdict. A key part of the trial was when the doctor demonstrated to the jury how having a prosthetic leg has affected his life and work. Patrick said such high-stakes trial work is a specialty at Robbins. Minnesota Lawyer is happy to recognize Patrick Ahrens as an Attorney of the Year.
Elan Baudry. Litigator Elan Baudry has worked in a lot of areas, but he was involved in his signature case last year. Elan was lead trial lawyer for Miriam Parada, a Mexican citizen who was brought to Anoka County Jail for traffic misdemeanor. The jail delayed her release so that she could be turned over to the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. A federal court ruled that calling ICE was unconstitutional. Working with the ACLU, Baudry won $30,000 for Prada from a federal jury. Minnesota Lawyer is pleased to recognize Elan Baudry as an Attorney of the Year.
Mai Mua. Mai Mua has made a specialty of helping people navigate laws that regulate whether they can stay in the United States. Many of her cases involve Southeast Asian men who came to the country as refugees, often decades ago. Some had committed minor crimes, pleaded guilty, and now face deportation because of those long ago convictions. Mai has successfully argued that refugees should be allowed to reapply for permanent resident status if they meet certain criteria. That has saved many a family from needless disruption. Minnesota Lawyer is happy to honor Mai Mui as an Attorney of the Year.
Karen Nelson Shaffer. George Floyd's family took the unusual step of appointing Karen Nelson Shaffer as its trustee in a federal case against Derek Chauvin in the city of Minneapolis. Karen is more used to representing wrongful terminated workers, but she was chosen because of her background in criminal defense and her civil rights experience. With the help of a team of lawyers from all over the country, Karen helped gain a $27 million settlement for the Floyd family last year. Minnesota lawyers happy to recognize Karen Nelson Shaffer as an Attorney of the Year.
Melissa Nilsson. Family law attorney Melissa Nilsson often has a front seat to people behaving poorly in stressful situations as their lives become irreparably changed. Melissa says that clients and opposing parties were on good behavior during the beginning stages of COVID, but after about 6 months of lockdown, that good behavior started to erode. She has helped many a family navigate a personal crisis during a troubled era. Minnesota Lawyer is proud to recognize Melissa Nilsson as an Attorney of the Year.
Matthew Pelican. Matthew Pelican's professional path has always been about public service. Early on, he worked on political campaigns, including those for Paul Wellstone and Mark Dayton. As an attorney, Matthew has made an impact on the legal system, helping victims of sexual harassment and racial discrimination. One recent case set a precedent by broadening the Minnesota Human Rights Act to protect unpaid interns in the workplace for the first time. As in all his cases, Matthew's goal is accountability and justice. Minnesota Lawyer is pleased to recognize Matthew Pelican as an Attorney of the Year.
Paul D. Peterson. Last year was a big one for Paul Peterson, whose firm focuses on personal injury and civil litigation. Among the highlights was a ruling by the Minnesota Supreme Court reinstating a wrongful death lawsuit filed by the heirs of a boy who died after being physically abused by his father's girlfriend. Paul's firm filed a lawsuit alleging negligence on the part of the child protection workers. The case led to significant reforms to state laws regarding child abuse, including more response to and investigations of abuse reports. Minnesota Lawyer is happy to honor Paul Peterson as an Attorney of the Year.
Eric Rice. When Jaleel Stallings was shot at from an unmarked van, he had no way of knowing that it was police firing rubber bullets. When he shot back, he was beaten and arrested. When he faced a charge of attempted murder, the natural course was to claim self-defense. But it wasn't that easy for this attorney, Eric Rice. For one thing, the self-defense claim was almost kept from the jury. But body cam footage showed that Stallings did not provoke the attack and that he used reasonable force. He was acquitted of all charges. Minnesota Lawyer is happy to recognize Eric Rice as an Attorney of the Year.
Chris Sailors. When the Mille Lacs Band of Ojibwe started its own legal aid department, Chris Sailors was given the task of building the law office from scratch. Chris brought on 4 attorneys and built a practice that focused on consistent representation. Chris now has his own firm with partner Ethan Allen. He's had solid success fighting for his clients. Over the past few years, he has tried and won 16 cases, including 2 reversals. Minnesota Lawyer is proud to recognize Chris Sailors as an Attorney of the Year.
Aaron Sinberg Porter. Aaron Sinberg Porter already had a full plate as a partner at Jones Day, but she applied for a position at the State Commission of Judicial Selection anyway. She's now chair of that commission. In that role, she works to find candidates to the governor for vacancies in the district courts and the Workers' Compensation Court of Appeals. During Aaron's tenure, Governor Walz has appointed the first Black judges in both the 6th and 7th judicial districts, the first Asian Pacific Islander judge in the 6th Judicial District, and the first Native American judge in the Minnesota Court of Appeals. Minnesota Lawyer is pleased to honor Aaron Sinberg Porter as an Attorney of the Year.
Jeff Storms. Jeff Storms knew he was going to be a lawyer from the time he was 5. Growing up, he saw the injustice of racial and economic disparities around him, and he knew he wanted to do something about it. That attitude has helped Jeff's work as a civil rights litigator. That has included being a member of the team that brought a settlement to the family of George Floyd. As part of his work on that case, Jeff advocated for the family in a number of national media outlets. Minnesota Lawyer is happy to recognize Jeff Storms as an Attorney of the Year.
Aaron Van Oort. By even the loftiest of legal standards, Aaron Van Oort, a fagry drinker, had quite a 2021. Among other cases, he served as lead appellate counselor for Xcel Energy in securing a cert denial in the Minnesota Energy Regulation Appeal. A decade into a False Claims Act case, Boston Scientific hired Aaron to join their case. He led the briefing team and argued the motion, and the court ruled for Boston Scientific in a complete defense victory. Minnesota Lawyer is happy to recognize Aaron Van Oort as an Attorney of the Year.
We will now recognize the team honorees. Court Anderson and Benjamin Hamburg. 7 years is a long time to wait for justice, but Court Anderson and Ben Hamburg got their clients that justice, along with possibly the largest whistleblower payout in Minnesota history. Their clients were 2 minority shareholders in a company that went public 10 years ago. Controlling shareholders had manipulated the stock price in the first days of trading, which ultimately helped the majority shareholders. Not only were the minority shareholders compensated, but the ringleader went to jail. Minnesota Lawyer is happy to honor Court Anderson and Benjamin Hamburg as Attorneys of the Year.
Tim Barnett and Ryan Schildkraut. A year ago, every lawyer at Winthrop and Weinstein's M&A group already had deals going. When Tim Barnett was contacted by a client who wanted to sell 3 portfolios containing more than 800 chain restaurants, and he wanted to do it in 5 months. The result was 11 transactions, which meant working with owners, landlords, and lawyers to secure their agreements. Ryan Schildkraut was essentially the project manager for the sale, reading and responding to emails from the seller and working with buyers, lenders, and others. And Tim and Ryan are still hungry for more. Minnesota Lawyer is pleased to recognize Tim Barnett and Ryan Schildkraut as Attorneys of the Year.
Kathleen Flynn Peterson and Robert King Jr. Matt Thien was driving down a rural road near Wilmer when a truck from a local farm failed to yield the right-of-way. While his injuries were healed by the time of the case went to trial, Thien also had a traumatic brain injury and mild cognitive impairment. Kathleen Flynn Peterson and Robert King had to convince a jury that although Thien looked okay, he actually wasn't. Their team created exhibits that showed each injury and its long-term effects. The hard work paid off as the plaintiff was awarded a multi-million-dollar settlement.
My congratulations to Kathleen and Bob for a spectacular verdict, which will enable our client to live a life of dignity and be able to provide for himself and his family rather than being dependent on others. This again is one in a long line of successful results that these 2 outstanding attorneys have achieved on behalf of injured people.
Minnesota Lawyer is proud to recognize Kathleen Flynn Peterson and Robert King Jr. as Attorneys of the Year.
Dan Guerrero and Perry Moriarty. Defense attorney Dan Guerrero and U of M law professor Perry Moriarty helped Mayan Burrell win release from prison, and he served years for a crime he didn't commit. Dan took on the case about 4 years ago after Burrell's father and sister came to him for help. Perry and 2 of her students in the U of M's Child Advocacy and Juvenile Justice Clinic were retained to represent him before the State Parole Board. After testimony from Burrell, his attorney, and 2 supporters, the board decided to commute Burrell's life term to 20 years and let him serve 2 years he had left on a supervised release. Minnesota Lawyer is happy to honor Dan Guerrero and Perry Moriarty as Attorneys of the Year.
Brook, Holmes, and Randall Knutson. Brook, Holmes, and Randall Knutson helped win justice for a teenage victim of sexual abuse by an older maintenance man at the victim's apartment complex. After the victim reported the abuse, the property management company retaliated by attempting to illegally evict the family. Brook filed a civil suit against the maintenance man and the property owner, eventually gaining a large settlement for the victim's family. A recovering victim herself, Brook formed a bond with the victim that helped the case greatly. Minnesota Lawyer is happy to recognize Brook Holmes and Randall Knutson as Attorneys of the Year.
Willow Anderson and Jack Rice. In a case that drew national attention, Jack Rice and Willow Anderson helped an American Indian activist gain dismissal of a felony charge for taking down a Christopher Columbus statue at the state capitol. The 2 worked with the Ramsey County attorney and the court to allow the use of a restorative justice roundtable process rather than the normal courtroom format. Thanks to the roundtable, their client was sentenced to 100 hours of community service instead of jail. Minnesota Lawyer is pleased to recognize Willow Anderson and Jack Rice as Attorneys of the Year.
And finally, we will present the group awards for Attorneys of the Year. Feel free to bring all the members of your team on stage. 3M Mask Seizures Team. During the pandemic, 3M caught plenty of companies selling fraudulent versions of its N95 face masks. A team of attorneys stayed busy during the past 2 years, filing temporary restraining orders against companies selling N95 imitations to unsuspecting buyers. The attorneys worked closely with the U.S. Marshal's Office, which seized millions of fake masks from warehouses in several states. 3M used a fraud hotline, tips from people questioning the legitimacy of masks being sold in high volumes at low costs, and private investigators to tease out the companies selling fake merchandise. Minnesota Lawyer is proud to honor the 3M Mask Seizures Group as Attorneys of the Year.
"3M Bear Hugger MDL Plaintiffs Appellate Team." A team of attorneys led by Meshbesher and Spence managed the rare feat of convincing a federal district court to reinstate litigation over a product that hospitals use to warn patients before, during, and after surgeries. Plaintiffs said the machines harbor and grow bacteria and that the heat from the machines contaminates the sterile field in an operating room. There might be potentially thousands more filed in the matter in Minnesota and around the country.
I'm really pleased to extend my congratulations to Mike, Megan, Leslie, and the entire Bear Hugger team for the extraordinary effort and work that they did in getting a reversal of the trial court's decision. This decision will affect over 6,000 people who are victims of the Bear Hugger. They'll be able to go on and present their cases at trial, and they'll have a level playing field. So Michael, Megan, and Leslie, congratulations. Great job. Well done.
Minnesota lawyers pleased to recognize the MDL plaintiffs appellate group as attorneys of the year.
Brown, Lee, and Young v. Reese Pfeiffer, and US v. Pfeiffer. A pair of lawsuits by Mid-Minnesota Legal Aid and the U.S. Department of Justice removed a dangerous landlord from property management. Reese Pfeiffer had subjected African-American female tenants to severe sexual harassment. Between the two suits, 23 victims were found in total. Pfeiffer's harassment included repeated propositions and unwanted touching. The case is settled with a payment to the victims, a civil penalty, and a payment of attorney fees. Pfeiffer can no longer manage properties. Minnesota's lawyer is happy to recognize the MMLA and DOJ Pfeiffer Group as attorneys of the year.
The Hall Law Team. If you've never heard of auto accident RFN cases, you're not alone. The name stands for radio frequency neurotomy. It refers to a treatment used to ease pain coming from an injured facet joint of the spine. Facet joint injuries are common in car accidents, and many personal injury cases hinge on the injury and its treatment. Last year, Minneapolis-based Hall Law helped win a $6.7 million jury verdict and 3 of the top 10 auto RFN settlements in Minnesota history. In addition to the verdict, Hall Law recorded 3 of the 10 largest auto accident RFN settlements in Minnesota history. Minnesota lawyers happy to recognize the Hall Law Group as attorneys of the year.
Minor Does v. the Hills Youth and Family Services. A few years ago, a group of boys ran away from the Hills Youth and Family Services, a juvenile detention and treatment center in Duluth. They ran to escape repeated sexual assault and exploitation by an adult male counselor employed by the facility. An investigation resulted in criminal charges against the counselor, and a trio of law firms combined their resources to hold the Hills accountable, bringing claims on behalf of the boys. After more than 2 years of litigation by the law firms, the cases were settled last year for a 7-figure amount. Minnesota lawyer is pleased to honor the Hills Youth Group as attorneys of the year.
Mohammed Noor Defense Team. The case of convicted former Minneapolis police officer Mohammed Noor ended up turning on a key factor: what constitutes a depraved mind? Legally, it's the mental state for third-degree murder. Noor was convicted of third-degree murder following the shooting in South Minneapolis. Noor appealed, and the Court of Appeals affirmed the conviction, but the Minnesota Supreme Court granted review. The Noor decision could provide important guidance to defense lawyers and prosecutors in future criminal cases. Minnesota lawyers proud to recognize the Noor Defense Group as attorneys of the year.
NH v. Anoka Hennepin School District. A few years ago, the Anoka Hennepin School District prohibited a transgender high school student who identified as male from using the boys' locker room, which he had been doing for months without incident. A team of Stinson lawyers led by Tim Griffin and Andrew Davis came to the student's defense. The case captured national interest. Years after the student had been banned, the Minnesota Court of Appeals ruled that the district violated his rights under the Minnesota Constitution and the Minnesota Human Rights Act. Minnesota lawyer is happy to recognize NH versus Anoka Hennepin Group as attorneys of the year.
Protecting Minnesotans from Medicaid Fraud, State versus Ramona Lisa Brown. When healthcare providers defraud the Medicaid system, it costs not only taxpayers, but also people who need that service. The State Attorney General's office had made a priority out of pursuing Medicaid fraud throughout the state. Last year, Assistant AGs Nicholas Wonka and Kristen Nilsson helped convict a former home care nursing agency operator on 14 felony counts of aiding and abetting. The thief got jail time and was ordered to pay restitution. Minnesota lawyers pleased to recognize the medical fraud group as Attorneys of the Year.
Protecting tenants as consumers. When Keith Ellison was elected Minnesota Attorney General in 2018, his agenda included pursuing issues that were affecting low-income Minnesota residents. Assistant AG Catherine Kelly led a team that used consumer protection laws to halt the violation of rights of hundreds of families who rented apartments in North Minneapolis. In November, a Hennepin County judge ruled that one landlord knowingly violated the rights of hundreds of families who rented from him. The case marks the first time in memory that the Minnesota Attorney General's office has prioritized treating tenants as consumers under consumer protection laws. Minnesota Lawyer is happy to honor the Protecting Tenants group as Attorneys of the Year.
ResCap Liquidating Trust Litigation Team. A Spencer Fain team of attorneys closed out a major case last year involving the residential mortgage originator best known as ResCap. In fact, a judge in the case said it was one of the most complex she'd ever seen. After ResCap declared bankruptcy, the Spencer Fain attorneys helped prosecute more than 100 lawsuits to recover money lost after ResCap's clients misled the company during the subprime mortgage crisis. In total, ResCap's attorneys recovered more than $1 billion for the client. Minnesota Lawyers happy to recognize the ResCap litigation group as Attorneys of the Year.
Right Choice Managed Care Incorporated et al. V. Hospital Partners Incorporated case team. John Grisham hasn't written any legal thrillers about medical fraud cases, but a team of attorneys at Robbins Kaplan didn't need a fictional bestseller to understand the importance of a jury verdict they won in a fraud case against a clinical laboratory and its owners. The defendants were accused of engaging in a billing scheme involving blood lab testing. They allegedly conspired to use the hospital as a vehicle for vastly inflating bills for tests they performed. After a nearly 2-week trial, the jury awarded the insurer more than $18 million in compensatory damages and a separate amount in punitive damages. Minnesota Lawyer is pleased to recognize the Right Choice Group as Attorneys of the Year.
Shaffer v. Attorney General Keith Ellison et al. Digging into 100-year-old materials from the Minnesota Historical Society is not a normal task for an attorney, but that's what Scott Flaherty did when he represented Supreme Court Justice Lori Gilda in a high-profile case that defended a statute governing the Minnesota Board of Pardons. Scott and a team from the AG's office defended a law requiring unanimous 3-0 vote for pardons. Turning over a district court, the Minnesota Supreme Court agreed. Minnesota Lawyers happy to honor the Shaffer Group as Attorneys of the Year.
University of Minnesota Law School Clemency Project. For 8 years, law school students at the U of M Law School Clemency Project Clinic have worked on clemency petitions for clients serving unfairly long sentences. The clinic had a especially good year. 14 clients whose clemency cases had been pending during the Trump administration got commutations. The Minnesota Board of Pardons also granted clemency to a clinic client serving a 25-year sentence. The hope is for more commutations to come under the Biden administration. Minnesota Lawyer is proud to recognize the Clemency Project Clinic as Attorneys of the Year.
We're good. Thanks, John and David. What an outstanding evening, recognizing the accomplishments of Minnesota's legal professionals making a difference on behalf of their clients and their communities. At this time, I'd like to invite all of tonight's honorees to stand and be recognized. If there are any alumni in the room, can you join the standing crew? That should be close to everybody. Thank you again to our sponsors, in particular event sponsor Bridgewater Bank, for your support of tonight's program and your support of this year's honorees. Thank you again to all of our VIP sponsors. I'm not going to go through the names because we don't have time for everybody to cheer for their table again. So we will be publishing a special magazine with profiles of each honoree. Copies are available on your way out at the registration desk, and it will be inserted in tomorrow's edition of Minnesota Lawyer, which you'll all receive because I know you're all subscribers of Minnesota Lawyer. And it's also available online. But it's behind the paywall, so you have to subscribe in order to read it. Honorees, if you'd like to order a framed reprint of your magazine profile, look for an email from our partner in Veritas, or just email me or Jill. You've got our email. And now we'll leave the stage open for anybody who wants to come up and take photos on the stage. On behalf of Minnesota Lawyer, our staff, our sponsors, thank you all for helping us celebrate our Attorneys of the Year. If you are ready to keep celebrating, the bar will be open for a little while, but the Knutson Casey after party is in the Lakeshore room, just on the other side of that wall. They'll have a hosted bar from 8 till 9 and a late night pizza snack around 9 o'clock. So again, thanks. Appreciate you all coming. Have a great night.